The fires of industry have long been stoked with sweat and toil. But often, they claim an even higher human price. Here are 10 of the world's worst industrial disasters. Bhopal. On December 3, 1984, the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal, India experienced a catastrophic incident, considered the most severe industrial disaster in history. Approximately 45 tons of the hazardous gas methyl isocyanate were released and dispersed over the nearby densely populated areas, leading to the immediate death of thousands of people and causing panic as tens of thousands tried to escape from Bhopal. Ultimately, the death toll was estimated to be between 15,000 and 20,000, and around 500,000 survivors experienced respiratory issues, eye irritation, or blindness. Windscale. The reactor at Windscale suffered an uncontrolled graphite control block burn on October 8, 1957, leading to the rupture of nearby uranium canisters. The resulting fire continued for 16 hours, and radioactive iodine and polonium were released in significant quantities into the surrounding atmosphere. Monongah. Extracting materials through mining is an inherently perilous occupation, and often the price paid for obtaining these resources includes human lives. While mining accidents have had tragic consequences, there have been rare instances of fortunate outcomes such as the rescue of miners in Chile in October 2010. However, the most catastrophic mining accident in the history of the United States took place on December 6, 1907, when a coal mine explosion in Monongah, West Virginia, caused the mine entrance and ventilation system to collapse during peak work hours. The explosion resulted in the deaths of over 350 miners, including several young boys, either through suffocation due to the poisonous gas that filled the tunnels or as a direct result of the blast. 3 Mile Island. At 4 a.m. on March 28, 1979, the worst nuclear mishap in the history of the United States began when an automatically operated valve in the Unit 2 reactor at 3 Mile Island mistakenly closed, leading to the discontinuation of the water supply to the main feedwater system. The feedwater system is responsible for transferring heat from the water that is circulating in the reactor core. Consequently, the reactor core shut down automatically, but a sequence of equipment and instrument malfunctions, along with erroneous decisions and human errors in operating procedures over the following hours, resulted in a severe loss of water coolant from the reactor core. As a result, the core was partially exposed, and the zirconium cladding of its fuel reacted with the surrounding superheated steam, producing a substantial accumulation of hydrogen gas, some of which escaped from the core into the reactor building's containment vessel. Despite this, very little of this and other radioactive gases were released into the environment. Although the accident appeared to have limited health implications for the local population, it had significant and far-reaching repercussions for the nuclear power industry in the United States. Fukushima. On March 11, 2011, Japan's most severe nuclear disaster was initiated by a colossal earthquake and resulting tsunami. The Fukushima Daiichi No. 1 facility in the northern part of Japan was struck by the tsunami, which damaged the plant's backup power generators. Despite the successful shutdown of the reactors, the loss of both primary and backup power led to the cooling system's failure within days, causing several explosions that released substantial amounts of radioactive material. Workers labored for over a month to mitigate the disaster, and tens of thousands of residents were forced to evacuate the region. Courrières. On March 10, 1906, one of Europe's most catastrophic mining accidents occurred. The Courrières mine near the Pas-de-Calais hills in northern France was hit by an explosion that killed nearly 1,100 individuals and injured hundreds more. Although smoke and harmful gases were reported at the mine site in the days leading up to the explosion, operations continued. 3 days after the explosion, the mine owners called off the search efforts, declaring the remaining workers dead. This hasty decision was heavily criticized, as survivors continued to be rescued from the mine for as long as 20 days following the disaster. Deepwater Horizon. On April 20, 2010, the most massive marine oil spill in history started when an explosion shook the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. In the ensuing months, tens of thousands of oil barrels leaked into the Gulf of Mexico each day, as BP engineers worked to stem the flow. When the well was finally capped in September 2010, approximately 4.9 million barrels of oil had escaped into the Gulf, causing significant harm to both the region's economy and ecology. Honkeiko. On April 26, 1942, the Honkeiko colliery suffered a devastating explosion that killed 1,549 Chinese laborers. The mine was under the control of Japanese forces that had occupied the area since the 1930s, and was notorious for its appalling working conditions. Workers were rife with disease, some having been captured from local military organizations, and discipline was often enforced with brutal force. Following the explosion, guards prevented miners' relatives from accessing the site, and it took 10 days to transport the deceased to a communal burial ground. The Triangle Fire. On March 25, 1911, a fire broke out in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, claiming the lives of fewer than 150 people. Although the death toll was not as high as in some other disasters, the event had a profound impact on the United States. Many of the workers who perished were young women who had previously led a strike for better pay and working conditions. Tragically, the factory's owners had locked the doors to prevent theft, trapping the workers inside. As the fire raged, New Yorkers watched in horror as desperate workers, unable to escape the flames, jumped from the building's upper floors. The Triangle Fire became a catalyst for a movement to improve workplace safety and labor rights in America. The Exxon Valdez. The grounding of the Exxon Valdez on March 24, 1989, by Captain Joseph Hazelwood, caused one of the worst oil spills in history. Despite Exxon's eventual payment of over $2 billion towards the cleanup effort, nearly 11 million gallons of crude oil spread across approximately 1,300 miles of Alaska's shoreline. The crew of the Valdez, particularly Hazelwood, who had been drinking prior to the accident, were held responsible for the incident after an investigation. The events described in these rewritten passages illustrate the devastating impact of human error and negligence in industries that have the potential to cause great harm to both people and the environment. It is important to remember these tragedies and to learn from them in order to prevent similar accidents in the future. While progress has been made in improving safety regulations and procedures, we must remain vigilant and committed to ensuring that the welfare of workers and communities is prioritized over profit and convenience. We can honor the memory of those who have suffered and perished in these incidents by advocating for greater accountability and responsibility from corporations and governments.